So this is Tea and Tarot Tuesday. We're setting up our devices. Make sure once you sit down that everybody is able to see both of us.
Tea and Tarot Tuesday.
How is everybody doing out there tonight? I'll have to keep leaning forward to make sure that I see who is looking, if there's any questions. So, all right.
Okay. Angle this just a little bit, and then
We're doing all of our troubleshooting shit here. All right. So, this is my dearest friend, Dimitri, and we are here live to talk about tarot fundamentals. Last week was the very first in the live shows. I have had many different meetings of the Tea and Tarot Tuesday prior when Arcane Sanctum was an actual brick and mortar. And I think you showed up to a couple of those.
Yeah,
where we would talk about different aspects of tarot and brew tea and just sit and shoot the shit and have a good time.
Exactly.
But we wanted to bring this into a live format so that we would have the opportunity to actually speak with people and answer questions and make it more a broader group of folks. So we live in a global society. We can't just, and it's COVID, so we can't all gather in our public spaces anymore.
Hello everyone on TikTok and everything. Welcome.
This one a little bit.
Just so y'all know, the phone is pretty far away when it comes for this particular live. So if I cannot see or read your questions, you can always shoot me an IG message, or you could go to Spider Goddess on IG and shoot her a message. And we can also answer questions and everything that way. So.
Yeah. And I'm also on TikTok as Spider Goddess.
She's also on TikTok as well, Spider Goddess.
Every platform I'm Spider Goddess, pretty much. As long as no one stole my handle.
No, your handle is still there, trust me.
Well, yeah. So one of the things I really love about this particular format is being able to share information. You and I approach things from different perspectives because we're different people. We actually agree on a lot of different things. And at the same time, we approach tarot from very different perspectives.
Yes.
A lot of questions, things that I wanted to go over today, I answered in my own way on live due to questions that people sent in, like how do you choose a tarot deck? How do you, connect with them? But you have a different perspective and a different way that you treat the cards and work with them. So I think it's really great because other people can share their experiences as well, and then we all learn from one another because everybody has wisdom and knowledge that they bring to the table. And I see something here that says, "Are tarot readings set in store, or can we charge our path to change our path to change our future?" Well, so that's actually an excellent question. Do you want to take that? Is everything set in stone, or are we capable of changing our path?
Oh goodness, that is a very excellent question. Well, it depends on the framework in which you live by when it comes to your path. I mean, from a general point of view, you can change your destiny, change your fate at any given point in time, as long as you change your perception of how you're working and orienting your energies. Now, the reason why I say it depends on the framework in which you live by is that your cultural understandings, your religious views, and things like that, sometimes depending on that framework, it is set in stone. It's already spoken. You cannot deviate from it. While for those who do not conform to that, at any given moment, if you don't like something, you can adjust it.
Yeah, see, I have a very Neo of the Matrix sort of belief. I do not believe that anything is set in stone. I believe that every day we're planting seeds to create our future. So if you are laying out cards and your cards tell you that in the future this is going to happen, that is the energy that you've created. If it's in the near future, you won't be able to change it quite so much. But if you if we're looking a little bit further out, then you have full control of how everything is going to play out and how that you are going to put the energy forth. So the Tower card, most people are afraid of the Tower card.
It's just,
right?
It's just change.
Well, it's clearing out. It's the universe. My perspective is that it's the universe telling us that you are not paying attention, and I'm about to pull the rug out from under you to get you to pay attention. And if that's happening, in the next 3 to 6 months, you can probably start making some changes and avoid whatever catastrophe or pitfall is coming in your direction. Whereas if it's coming in the next month, you already did the deed. You already planted the tree, and it's about to bear fruit.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like it would be pointless to know our future, if we couldn't actually affect it. We could handle it with more grace, perhaps, but I do feel that
handles the future with grace.
This is true. But I do feel that we are very capable of affecting our future. And I think that's why we read the cards, is so that we know what we're not seeing, what our blind spots, so we can.
I mean, when it comes to the whole concept of like the future and everything, when it comes to reading tarot and whatnot, I see it from the mindset of possibilities, based off of where your energy is oriented presently. So it's like, if I'm seeing something that could potentially happen, then it's like, oh, well, based off of your current energies and your current framework, this is the most likely outcome. But let's say that, like, your emotions change about a certain situation, or your thought pattern change. It's like, okay, well, what I just saw, now there's a deviation based off of that. So you're either going to get something that is similar to, or completely different. But because of my personal framework, it's like, okay, but those are your energies. There are other forces at play that has influence over this. Some in this forces that are out of your control. And it's like, okay, well, what is going on here? And sometimes those forces that are out of your control, they may have such a strong influence. It's like you may be trying to change your course, but it's constantly bringing you back to that one outcome. And sometimes it's like, well, I mean, you're SOL. I mean, it seems like these forces has a plan for you in some way on this particular situation. You're screwed. Screwed. Well, that's screwed. That's screwed in a bad way.
I always try to tell people that there is, every dark cloud has a silver lining.
It definitely does.
Rain is necessary for crops to grow. It is absolutely necessary.
And
sometimes you gotta dive deep into the bullshit in order to be able to clean the space. So I don't want ever for anyone to feel negatively about a reading. If you have to go through some stuff, it's because you got to go through it. It's because you planted those seeds, and it's time to take a look and make a difference in your own life.
True. So. I also personally have to be careful with my word choice at times, because for example, like saying screwed, it's like, oh, I don't mean it in a negative sense. I'm just saying, I mean, buckle up.
I'm checking.
Hello, everyone that joined.
People, I'm waving at Leah. So people are tuning in. This is excellent. So feel free to put your questions out there, and we will go back and take a look and make sure that we are covering them. If we miss it, don't hesitate to put it back in there, because I'm not always the best.
No, feel free to ask questions and everything. I'll do my best to see. I can see the hi. My eyesight is not that good, even though I wear glasses. I know.
So this is, again, Afro Spiritual. You can find him on Instagram and TikTok. And I am Spider Goddess on Instagram and TikTok, as well as Arcane Sanctum. So, one of the questions that people come to me with a lot is, how do I choose a tarot deck? Now, I gave my perspective last week, and I would absolutely love to hear your advice to people on how they should choose
a tarot deck. Well, my thing is that I'm all about vibes. I hate to sound new agey and stuff like that, but I am all about vibes. So, for example, what is a good example? There was this one deck I did get from a shop and everything here locally in Austin, Texas, the Afro-Brazilian Tarot. The thing is, I wasn't looking for a tarot deck when I walked into this shop and everything, the occult store, and just by simply looking at it, eyes met, it was like, yeah, you're coming with me. It was just, sometimes you just instantly know. It's an instant connection. Sometimes it's based off of your personal beliefs. Sometimes it's based off of cultural understanding. But sometimes you have to just hold the decks. You have to just get a feel from them. How to explain? You just know. It's just one of those things you just know. You get a sense, you get a vibe. It's as if it comforts you in a way. Sometimes a deck will even announce itself in a way. I mean, my approach is very animistic. Sometimes the deck will announce itself and be like, hi, I'm coming home with you. You have no choice. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. One thing that is good to note is that we all experience our intuition in different ways, right? Mm-hmm. We all have a sense of where in our bodies we might feel it, or maybe you get a little itch on your arm that means that you are feeling this, or maybe it's something in your stomach. So we have to become aware of how we process that information and where our intuition comes from, and whether we are clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, and be able to understand that. Now, I will also say that I've had decks that have entered my life because either they were given to me or I purchased them and I loved the artwork, but I didn't connect with the deck overall. And one thing I found is that deck always found its rightful person, because I would meet somebody and they would fall for it. There would be an instant connection for them, and so I ended up as a catalyst for somebody else's finding of their deck.
Your lady in the lake did to someone else.
Yeah.
And there was a question on TikTok, how to better connect with your tarot cards. We will get to that. That's actually one of the questions later on.
We can answer it now.
Answer it now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How to better connect with your tarot cards. Well, I call them bonding like sessions and everything, where you would just take the deck, you would shuffle it, you would hold it in your hand. You basically, well, the way I do it is that I take cigar smoke and I feed the deck. I give it something, as in like, hey, here is an offering, here's a little something, be like, hey, welcome to the family kind of thing. And I'll just start pulling cards and be like, how do you feel about working with me? Things like that. Just get to know the deck. And based off of what you draw, as in you get, like, let's say that you get the sun card, and it's like, oh, that is amazing, holy crap, we get to work together, this is going to be an awesome bond. Let's say that you get let's just use major arcana, let's say that you get the death card as you draw it, and it's like, okay, we can work together, but you're going to take me on a journey of transformation. And it's like, okay, you just keep pulling cards and you understand the language of the deck, how it feels. The artwork also gives a lot of insight on how to better connect with the deck as well. So
yeah, I find it interesting that that's how you connect with the deck. And the one deck that you brought to me, the Fountain Tarot, that you were like, let's see if it connects, if you connect to it. I pulled the High Priestess card, and you're like, oh, it's your deck.
Yeah.
And I actually really do connect with it in a very real way. But that's not how I view cards. I don't have I don't Oh yeah.
Love that. I'll be bonding with my deck soon. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't anthropomorphize them in any way, shape, or form. I feel like they are a conduit for the connection with spirit. So I don't feel like my cards themselves have any personality, or they are just raw materials for my being able to actually channel spirit and have that connection.
Yeah.
So and that's different than a lot of people, and both, a lot of people actually
because we discussed that before, because that's our personal difference, where I am like, everything is living, everything has a spirit. So even the deck or the medium that you use for tarot, or I mean for divination, is like, it has a personality, and it's two energies working in symbiosis to be able to read someone, whereas yours is like, it's the medium to connect me to my higher self.
I wouldn't say higher self.
Really?
Higher self is, I think that most often, because I've actually connected with people's loved ones through, as with the tarot as a starting point for that. So I feel like it's spirit. Spirit,
just over art.
Yeah, I feel like, so when people sit down with me for a reading, essentially they are giving me permission to be in their space. They're giving me permission to look at their world, which, that's one thing I did want to touch on, is the ethics of what we do. But we'll get back to that. So when you give me permission to be in your space, I'm diving into your world and talking to, the spirits that have information for you.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways,
it's like walking into a person's inner world and you're having a seat and just counseling.
Yeah. One thing along with that I always caution people too is that we are, I have my own shit, you have your own shit. When we process information, we see it through our own filters. So we also have to understand, as people getting readings, that not everyone is going to be able to speak to you in a way that fully resonates. You have to take the energy and be really honest with yourself and be really real about, is what this person's speaking legit? Because I don't feel that everyone, I feel like people pull information, but they may not present it in a way that is with outside of their own personal biases at times. Did you have another question?
Oh no, it's just people talking to each other in the comments.
Nice. So we're actually having tea.
Yes.
And I tried to pull some of my prettiest teacups for the
Oh
event.
no, I like them actually. I kind of want to keep this one, but I know I can't.
You can.
Oh,
you can.
Well, I'll give you something in return for it.
No, you don't. That's not what a gift. Well, I understand. I feel that.
I was raised to always do my best to give back in return.
Me too.
So,
me too.
like,
yeah, it's actually a very strong Norse belief that there has to be reciprocity.
Oh.
Receiving a gift is a bond, but also a what is the word? An obligation.
Interesting. I always thought it was like culturally like African American thing and whatnot. That's what my grandmother made me feel as if it was. It's like
it can be multiple cultures.
Cross culturally, sure.
Yeah. And I feel that when things are that's why we see some of the tenets of all spiritual beliefs are so similar because we're getting information from spirit. And spirit is teaching us in whatever culture we're in or whatever space, and the messages ring true across cultures.
Yeah, that's true.
That's how I view it.
No, I mean, I do agree with that because, like, if you look at all practices across the board, one of the base things that you see is there's an exchange of some sort. No matter how big or small it is, there is always an energetic exchange. And sometimes things have to be paid off to be able to gain. Sometimes you need to give first in order to receive. It just bounces back and forth. You're always bouncing back energy. It's like, well, I give this in exchange. Well, we give this back to you. I give this to you first. Well, let me get this.
Yeah, and when you tell me more about how you feed your deck, because you were talking about doing that.
Yes. Okay, so I use cigar smoke to feed my deck and everything. Whenever I get a new deck and whatnot, I would take the cigar smoke. I mean, puff, blow on the cards and everything, and basically that is me like saying, welcome, I give this to you as greetings and thanks for like being here in hopes that you will work with me. And every now and again, even after I bonded with the deck and everything, like they are working with me, this, that, and the other, every now and again I'll pull them out and I'm not even doing the reading, I would just give them cigar smoke. Or set them on my ancestral altar and just be like, hey, just vibe.
Yeah, I feel that. So given that we have different approaches, different views of our decks, mine I feel is just a tool used for that connection to spirit. And you have the anthropomorphized idea, the more animistic view, right? I feel I don't typically cleanse my deck. I don't see a need to most of the time. The energy, usually based on the protections that I create before I do a reading, it leaves with the person. How do you deal with your deck and situations like that?
So I cleanse my deck after it depends. After every client, I cleanse my deck. And it's as simple as knocking on the deck 3 times and brushing it off. And it's like, okay, you're clear for the next person. Cool. Depending on the question that the client may ask, if it's a really heavy question and we got really into that question, it's like, okay, let me just, it's clear. What's your other question? Because it would be like, that was very intense. That was pretty deep. let's reset the deck back to like just clear energy, balanced energy, and then we will restart up and go from there.
So you might cleanse your deck multiple times in a reading.
Mm-hmm. And while other times it's like, oh, okay, well, we did the reading and everything, whatnot, move on to the next client. Before getting to the next client, it's just knock on it, brush it, ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that I do before every reading, well, kind of when I'm shuffling the cards, I'm recentering and focusing my energy, and I feel like it's also affecting the deck. Mm-hmm. And I do almost a little prayer where I say, please remove my ego from this situation and allow me to give this person the... and allow me to give this person the information that they need. Please reveal to me what they need to hear during this.
Interesting.
So I feel like perhaps that's, a similarity, because I'm, that's a...
No, I do the same thing.
Creation of that sacred space.
I do the same thing, but it's not that I pray as I'm shuffling the deck. I have a white candle that is prayed over and blessed going on in the background with a glass of water. And that prayer candle is like, okay, so this is the re-cleansing as I do the motions to knock on the deck and brush it off. It's basically, in a way, you could say it's like sympathic in a way, where it's like, okay, that's the symbology, that's the triggers in my space of going like, almost as if you're like taking a bell and shaking it and whatnot to cleanse your space, but instead I'm knocking on the deck, and the sound, the vibration acts with everything in the space to be like, space is reset. Cards reset.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. I'm saying hi to Lexi. I see her, and I'm seeing someone out.
Hello.
To think for yourself and just
Would you
love.
say that being calm is very important in readings, and if you're not calm, could it affect it? Absolutely. In my opinion, not being calm can definitely affect your readings, because that basically, that's a pitfall where ego can slip in and your own biases can start like infecting the reading. Now, here's the other caveat to that. Let's say that you are calm in your readings, but let's say that the energy of the client that you're reading is starting to affect you, and their spirits are starting to come through you, and you start channeling all of a sudden, and you're no longer calm. Well, as long as you have a good center and focus on what is going on, as long as you have a good center and focus in what is going on, then you don't have to be calm. You're channeling the person's spirits. You're feeling their emotions, their thoughts, and you're almost as if you're enacting and reenacting what is going on. So it's one of the, it could go either way. If you're not channeling and you start to become like disturbed, your personal ego could potentially slip in. But if you're channeling and it's the ego of the energy that you're channeling, that's a completely different story.
Yeah, I definitely when I'm doing readings for people, I pay attention to what I'm feeling, because when I go into it, I think you have another question, which we'll get to in a second, but when I go into it, I have already done that little prayer. I've centered myself, I have focused, and so when I start to feel something other than that centered space, I look at what the cards are telling me, I listen to what Spirit is telling me, and I find that it's relevant to that person. I have cried along with my clients before. There are moments where, the emotions, I feel them very intensely. And so I think that's what you're saying as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, we both... I think most tarot readers, we're very, that empathic part of ourselves that each one of us has. Everybody is an empath. If we choose to connect and open ourselves spiritually, everyone can feel the connection that we have to every living being near us. And so that, and like I said, when you open up that space and you let me into your world, I'm there with you, And one of the things that tarot has done for me, in a lot of ways, is that it's taught me to love and accept people exactly where they are, because one of the things that you do see when you sit down with people is that everyone is trying. We're all doing what we can with what we have, and we're trying to do better, we're trying to grow, and some people, we all need to have that opportunity to look and see and how to do better on our path.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There were two questions that.
All right.
The first one that came up was, what's the significance of having a glass of water when I do the readings and everything? And you could say that it's a hoodoo thing. I mean, having water out, reading water, things like that. That's not just hoodoo. That's across many different other practices. Water is a conduit for energies and whatnot. And whenever I do readings, I'm not just only using tarot or oracle. I'm utilizing everything in my space. So candle flames, how where they blow to, what cardinal direction they blow to, how they jump, how they flicker, and everything. Water, do bubbles coalesce in the water? Does the water get disturbed? I'm not gonna lie, there have been times where I had my ancestral altar like full going and everything. There is no flames near the water on my ancestral altar, and out of my ear I would hear bloop, and I'm like, okay, spirits are talking. So it's just another way of being able to read the subtle energies that is going on with the energy, and to basically be a conduit of spirit as well. So
yeah, I don't use anything on my I'm one of those really stripped down minimalistic. If you saw my house, you guys would probably laugh because I like lots of little tchotchkes and I have a million pictures and little dolls and shit everywhere. But I don't, when I'm doing tarot, I don't want distractions. I'm already ADHD as fuck. I have just me, the client, and the tarot. I don't use candles. It's just me and spirit and that other person, because that's how I connect best. So if water or candles or stones work best for you, we all develop our own connection, like our own way of speaking to spirit. And every one of those ways is absolutely valid. You just have to find your flavor and what works for you and what helps you.
It's funny because back in high school, before anything, I read stones, actually. It's like the stones didn't exactly have a meaning or whatnot behind them. It was just literally, it was as if they were just a doorway. Like, you could pick up any stone and be like, well, it means this. It is just having just random, like, a bag of hodgepodge of stones. It was just... that was my medium for the longest time.
That's what tarot is for me. It's just a doorway.
See? The other question, very simple, was how do you get more confidence when doing readings? And simply, it's practice. Practice, practice, practice. Read your loved ones if they're okay with it. Don't just be like, I'm throwing cards for you. I mean, get permission. You don't want their spirits to be like, rawr, towards you.
Yeah, and, if you... one of the things to do, I mean, we all have trouble trusting ourselves. Every reader at some point, I don't care how many years you've been doing it, we all have those moments where we don't feel as confident. Every person has those moments in every aspect of their life. I'm sure surgeons, so they probably wouldn't want to speak it out loud, have those days where they just don't feel as confident. That's when you take those extra deep breaths and you tell the people that are sitting down with you, hey, this is something that I'm passionate about. I want to give you the best possible reading. I would love your feedback. And I want to try, please, allow me this space. And then, I have to personally, I see tarot or the conversation that I'm having with someone's spirit and the information I'm giving people is outside of myself. It's not me. I am just also a conduit, the hollow bone, if you will, or trying to be the hollow bone. And I don't try to put my ego into it. And so if you take that out, then you don't have to worry about your confidence level. You know that you are a tool for spirit as well, just like the cards are, because the end result we want is to be able to give information to people that's going to help them. A lot of times I tell people stuff that I don't even understand. I don't know how it relates to them and what it's going to necessarily give them overall, but the words come out and it ends up being what they needed to hear.
That happened one time, like more times than not, but the strangest occurrence of that happened with me when I was reading a client who was from Africa and everything, and their grandmother came through, and I spoke a Bantu prayer in Xhosa and I don't even speak that language. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It happens. Like,
Mm-hmm.
anything could come through. That's just how it is.
Is that another question?
I believe. Yes, the ego will have you messed up. Every time I do a reading, someone dies. I stopped. What does that mean? Ooh.
I would not say that in any way, shape, or form should you feel that you are the cause of somebody's death by doing a reading. It is probably a situation where you do the reading and it was the timing, there was something to be shared that needed to happen. Tarot doesn't change the future. It does not affect the future. It shows you the path. I always tell people, I'm spiritual GPS. That's what this is. We're going to give you a roadmap that tells you about the path you're on. If there's any detours that you might want to make because there's construction on the way to your destination, or if there's a road closure, spiritual GPS gonna let you know, right? So we don't create the future because we read the cards. The future is that path is already created. We can choose to take a different one, but it, you didn't make that happen. That doesn't, it just means that are you saying that you predicted the death? Or maybe I need a little bit more background information on that. So if you feel like sharing, we want to know.
Yes, there was one other that popped up.
Handle when spirit continues to speak to you. Oh, that's a great question.
We'll get you your question, Drunken Conjure. Because that is a good question. Do you find
we're gonna try to always to get to all the questions. And like I said, if we skip over you and it's been a while, please feel free to pop it back up. So how do you deal with when spirit is continuing to speak to you after a reading? Honestly, that doesn't happen to me very much because I let go of all of that when a person leaves. I close the deck, I reshuffle them, I let go of the energy that is present, and I tell if there are any specific spirits. Like one time I was doing a reading for a woman and I just started giggling and she's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, she goes, "It's my mom, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually." And so there was a full conversation that occurred because her mom, she didn't want to hear some of the things, and I was still hearing it. I couldn't not hear it. And the woman was hilarious. Snarky as fuck, and I love that. But you say goodbye. It's like with any person, they don't have to be incarnate and in the flesh. We can tell them it's time to go away and shut off that space for them. Once a client leaves me, that reading is over, and I let everybody involved know that reading is over. I hope that helps, because typically, especially when I'm at festivals, I'm moving on to the next person rather quickly, and so you have to close that space and allow the next the slate to be clean so that you can connect with the next person that's coming to sit down. And when I'm doing readings, so I do a lot of readings since COVID on video chat. I'll do several in the evening. And, I just shut off the conversation, literally shut off the conversation, go and get myself a drink of water and move forward.
See, I do the same thing, but is that I make sure that I have snacks on hand because I like to eat.
Yeah, well, snacks are a great way to ground and center because they bring you back into the body. They take you out of, that channel space. And,
and it's always like my comfort food snacks because I love me my oatmeal cookies, especially my iced oatmeal cookies.
I've eaten some of them.
So if I get into another client and everything, and you see me munching on like oatmeal cookies and everything, it's like, oh no, I'm good. I mean, hi, welcome. Let me just finish up real quick.
All right. So there was another question about being in trance that you mentioned.
Any experience doing tarot reading or text message? I have done readings over text message, but I want to answer one question that was before. Drunken Conjure asked, have you found yourself going into trance while doing tarot, and what was your experience with that?
Personally, when I, as somebody who has been a medium my whole life and seen spirits as flesh people, and having to learn how to differentiate, which I have learned to choose how deeply I'm going to go. I am not going to go that deep. I'm not going to go into trance when I'm doing a reading for somebody. And I also, I have a way of like, I have my protected space, and I put out almost like tentacle feelers to connect to other people's spirits.
Like a switchboard.
Yeah, you're not coming all the way into my personal space, and the trance isn't going to happen. I'm not going to allow that to happen.
And that goes back to the element of protection, where it's like, you have your shielding, you have your warding, and your veiling, but boundaries, creating energetic boundaries, it's like... And also that skill, very much so, like, for everyday life, just yes. Yeah, honestly, I would say that anyone who wants to do readings for other people needs to know how to protect themselves energetically, how to cleanse themselves energetically, in a multitude of situations before you sit down with anyone that you don't know that well, or anyone whose energy is somewhat out of vibration with yours, or just, you have to be able to protect yourself first and foremost. Because with my experience with that personally is that obviously everyone's energy is not going to vibe like whatsoever. I mean, you have low vibrations and high vibrations. I mean, it's some
different vibrations.
Yeah, some things just don't.
Wavelengths
some things don't mesh.
Yeah.
But as a reader, one thing I know that helps me is that I know where my energy vibrates and sits. And by being aware of how your energy vibrates and sits, you can tune your energy and whatnot, and the vibration of your energy, to be able to tune into your client better. So it's like, okay, your energy is I hate to use like high-low, but it's the best way I know how to compute it. If, let's say that your client's energy is here, but your vibration is here, you're doing the reading, but you're coming off to, like, let's say that you're coming off too intense, and you have to tune yourself for here for just a short amount of time to be able to connect and do the reading. Then once when everything is said and done and that energy goes away, then you can bring yourself back to level and level yourself off. So knowing your energy, how it flows and everything, and like just... Yeah, you can just tune like yourself.
You're chilling with your
code switching your energy.
I was about to say that. You're chilling with your super your Hare Krishna friend, or your Christian aunt, or whatever space. We all speak a similar language. We just the way that we connect. Sometimes the wording has to be different. Sometimes, and our energies can also learn to flow with each other and learn to connect in that way. So I do a lot of house clearings and cleansings, and I always walk in and ask people, okay, so what is your belief structure? What is your space that you are coming from? Because I want to respect that in my conversation with you, and as we're setting the tone for your home. And you do that with somebody's reading as well, I feel. Yeah.
Code switching your energy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. That's why we're best friends.
Let's see here. I think there was a question further up. I've done it, and it's still accurate. See. Oh, it's conversations going on and everything.
We like conversation.
Me, the Lovers or Two of Cups. It represents my bipolar, which is not a traditional meaning. I mean, if you're reading for yourself. Can you assign different meanings to the card? For example, I'm bipolar. Oh, that's the rest of the question. Can you assign different meanings to the card? To a card? I mean, yeah. I mean, that's where... Okay. So when it comes to doing tarot, this is where, like, the intuition overrides the concrete meaning and everything of, like, reading tarot. Because when reading tarot, we all know, like, okay, this card traditionally means this. and things like that. But when you actually start tuning in and using your intuition, like, the meaning of the card will start to blur and dissipate, and a completely different interpretation will come through based on the energy of who you're reading. So, for example, let's use the Two of Cups as an example, because to me, the Two of Cups represents a deep, intimate bond and connection, either with yourself or another person. However, depending on the energy and orientation of someone's energy, the Two of Cups can come off as like, okay, there's like an active force and a passive force in a person. It could be like there's two spirits walking with the person. It depends. That's where your intuition comes into play, and connecting with the client becomes paramount.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are, if you look at any one card, there's I don't do inversions for one thing, because I intuit whether or not that it's one of the 50 different possible meanings that any one card has. And then depending on placement and how it's interacting with other cards, trust your intuition, trust what spirit is saying to you.
Mm-hmm.
If we, especially when we're doing readings for ourselves, if we are deeply honest and aware of what is going on with us, the cards speak to us on a deeper level than just what a book says. I have a friend who his advice to any new reader is throw the damn book away. Trust yourself. Going back to an earlier thing that we were talking about, how to connect with your deck. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I feel, if any I'm a visual aid person here. Any deck, right? You have, I will some days sit down. I'm a writer.
This is the Ghetto Tarot, by the way. The artwork is actually pretty lovely. So
if you, grab a card, and I will take a card, any card, and I will create a story about what is happening in there. And I will sit down, and sometimes I'll write a short story, a couple pages about whatever is happening in this picture. There's so much going on. There's a man holding multiple swords. There's a couple swords on the ground. There's somebody who looks like he's crying. What happened here? And if you can go into the picture and begin to feel and sense what the story is, you can have a deeper connection to it and a meaning. And that's one of the ways I tell people to choose a deck, is if you can feel the story that is happening in the card that you have pulled, then you are more likely to open your intuition fully. At least that's how I have been able to connect to my decks.
Well, it goes back to the whole, you could say parable. A picture is worth 1,000 words. A million. Okay, a million, but 1,000 words.
I was being a but.
But it's especially if you going based off of artwork and everything, I always say, the first thing that catches your eye, there's a meaning there. It caught your eye for a reason. Mm-hmm. Why did it catch your eye? Mm-hmm. But don't think of why egoically, intuition, intuit. Why did it catch your eye? There's an understanding behind there, and spirit will literally talk to you about the why in that picture, in that certain aspect of that picture, and it would just flow from you seamlessly without even thinking. It'd be something about that. Okay, why about that?
Yeah, just open the floodgates, allow that to come through. And I speak about the picture telling me a story. For some people, it is symbols that you see within it. Other people like an abstract deck without actual fully flushed out images. There are abstract decks that are, abstract art, and they get something from the colors because they feel the colors. It's almost a synesthesia. And so whatever way you connect is absolutely valid. We are all different people with different ways that we process information, and respect how you process the information, and don't try to force yourself to see it the way that I see it, or the way that Afro-spiritual sees it. We all, every point is valid. I think there's some more stuff coming through. take a little gander.
Oh goodness, yeah. When I read, sometimes it just feels like word vomit. For real, like completely empathize with that.
I really I caution people. I mean, we should be careful with what we say to people, and at the same time, you know, I get images. As I said, I'm a visual person, and there are points where I will see something like someone's roller skating. One time I was doing a reading for a woman, and I was like, I see you roller skating. I feel like you need to be roller skating. And she's like, oh my God, I stopped doing roller derby and I miss it intensely and I feel like I should turn, you know. So those images may not mean anything to you. Mm-hmm. And they won't, because you don't know the person often that you're sitting down reading for. But if you tell people what you're connecting with and what you're seeing, you know, that is a message for them. Often. So try to pull off those filters.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I think
for
there's
sure.
so much more coming
I
through. Oh, thank you. Thank you for showing up.
I had experience with one client and everything where she asked me about hoodoo practice, and I sat there and said, yeah, you're good. And then her grandmother came right in my ear, just going like, you remember your auntie's taking you to Georgia? Why are you even asking? I'm like, yeah. Like, you know, just da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, oh my God. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Information comes through. The more that you remove yourself from the reading and connect to spirit, then you become that conduit. You become that space for spirit to reach out and connect.
That is a good question. What is the best way to lay the cards to be able to get an accurate, like, reading or story? And quite honestly, that is based off of how you feel with the deck and flowing with the reading.
What do you mean lay the cards?
Like
spread?
spreads.
Okay, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Person is what spread to use?
And to me personally, that's your own personal thing. When you get tarot cards and everything, sometimes like the book and whatnot, be like, this is the author's recommended spread for that deck. But I prefer to just throw the author's spreads out altogether and just intuit my own. Mm-hmm. And that gives me the best accurate reading. Conforming to another author's way of laying the cards or their spreads, or a variety of spreads even, to me feels constricting. And I prefer to do my own and figure out my way with the deck of what works best for me. And I go based off of that. And that auth has always given me the most accurate reading.
I love that. That's how I do it as well. But I also feel that for people who are beginning to work with decks, for new folks,
that's true.
learning spreads, and the more... it's sort of like if you were to read one book on a topic, you would not have a full understanding of the topic. You would hear from one author. So if you read multiple books on a topic, then you're going to have a better, well-rounded, something probably closer to the truth of what is actually happening there. Mm-hmm. So I, even now, when I see on Pinterest a spread that's out there, sometimes I'll play with it, you know? And I think it is good for us to experiment with and play with different spreads, and to find what works for you. Mm-hmm. So if you are trying to learn how to better work with your deck, try all the spreads. Yeah, do it, and whatever ends up working for you, and whatever ends up being an access point for you, do that until it doesn't work so well, and then either create your own or find another one. Now, I wanted to say, there's a lot of people that are tuning in, and so I wanted to say that I am Spider Goddess on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc. And this is Afro Spiritual, and we are so happy that you are here. I think there's some more questions.
Oh my goodness, we're pouring in. Who can be sassy and fun at the same time? Okay. Goodness. My deck is like a parent. Can really say sweet things or call me out. I mean, when you're reading for yourself, that's like any deck. Just buckle up to being called out at times.
I mean, that's why we do readings for ourselves, right? Because we want to broaden our perspective and see our blind spots, so that we can do better.
messages jumping out. Hello, everyone who's joined and everything. Welcome, welcome. I know I personally don't go live all the time, and personally, I don't like announcing when I go live. I just prefer to be spontaneous and just let
this wasn't really spontaneous.
Yeah, okay, this was planned for like a good week, but me going live on TikTok was like, hi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, more questions that come through, feel free to send them to us. Also, this is a weekly segment that I do on Instagram and upload to my YouTube channel. And if anyone wants to be a guest and talk about tarot, or honestly, it's Tea and Tarot Tuesday because I love alliteration. But in truth, next week we're talking scrying, so it's divination overall. Yeah. So it is about divination and how we connect with spirit and channel those energies. So anyone who wants to take part in that and be a guest, please send me a message via Instagram. Again, I'm Spider Goddess. And let's talk. Let's find the subject you're passionate about when it comes to divination, and let's make it a thing. I want to do one on runes because that's one of the one of the ways that I do divination a lot, and also my magic is often rooted in runic magic. Mm-hmm. So I would love to have another person who does runes share their perspective as well, because I want to learn too, and we all learn from each other. My motto in life is everyone is a teacher and everyone is a student. If we listen, we're gonna learn some
That
shit.
is one thing you got me beats on is runes. I'm like, I tried with runes and I'm like, ooh, no. I tried. I had trouble connecting with them.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't connect with them.
I've always been scared to do readings for myself. How do you eliminate bias whenever you read for yourself?
That's on you, honey. In truth, we all have bias. We all don't want to look at the darker parts of ourselves, but that's the shadow work that we are challenged to do every day. And see your triggers, see what things you're not comfortable with, and that's what you really have to pull in and do the work with. So just ask spirit to speak more deeply to you, and ask for yourself for your blind spots to be shown to you. And the more introspective we are, the more we can grow.
So my favorite tarot deck.
Did you want to talk about how to do a reading for yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Your perspective on that?
The way to be able to... I can't even talk right now because my brain is running a million miles per hour at the moment. So when I do tarot from myself, first thing I make sure that is that I am viewing the situation very objectively, third person objectively, omnisciently, you could say, because I don't want my bias to come into the reading, but also I assess my emotional state when I'm reading for myself. Now, if my emotional state is pretty even, pretty calm, I will do the reading and everything and see what comes through. But there have been times when my emotional state wasn't sound enough, and those are the key points where it's like, okay, let's try to eliminate my bias by meditating and grounding myself first. And if my emotions are still there, like my bias is still there, that's when I personally know that, okay, I need to go to someone else who could see objectively. That's how I do my readings for myself. Point. Because if you cannot see objectively in the situation, regardless of what's going on, that is your key, warning sign to go to someone else that you trust with your reading. Because if you try to read on it, it's gonna come out muddled. It's gonna come out like your shadows are gonna come out in your reading. You could potentially give your own self advice that is not the best advice. So, yeah, always try to measure your emotions and your thoughts before reading yourself, and make sure that you're seeing the situation objectively, both sides, all sides possible. And if you have that viewpoint, go ahead and read for yourself. But if you're stuck in your own ish when it comes to it, go to someone else you trust. That's how I see it. There's been times I went to Spider Goddess and everything for readings and everything because it's like I'm in my own stuff. I can't see objectively.
One thing, additionally, I know that not all of us have access in our lives to people who, or don't feel comfortable going to a stranger and telling our deepest, darkest secrets or whatever is bothering us at the time. And I really strongly recommend cultivating a relationship with your spirit guides. They are with you always, and they are our greatest teachers. They know everything about us, and they are here to help us in our growth. And so cultivating that relationship, we can always then either go into a journey, or they will reveal stuff in our dreams, or sometimes we have the connection where we can just talk to them directly. So the more that we cultivate that, the easier that conversation can become. So I really strongly recommend to people who to everyone, really, connect to your spirit guides, develop that relationship, because that's what they're there for.
There was one question that floated, and I forgot where it was. How do you strengthen your mediumship? It's not, okay, it's connected to tarot, but at the same time not. But this little sidetrack note, tarot actually helped me with my mediumship. It really did. There is one deck that I do have with me, by the way. The Hidden Realms Tarot, which is a deck that's based in Fae lore and myth and legend and everything. And when me doing my bonding ceremony and stuff like that and whatnot, the first card that popped out was the Queen of Swords. And the way that the deck interpreted it was that get your stuff together, trust your intuition, trust your gut. We're not going to be nice. And it did whip my butt into shape. And through working with that deck, my mediumship started to get a lot sharper, because I'm used to hearing and seeing and whatnot, but full on channeling everything. Like, unbelievable. It was through tarot that opened up those floodgates. So
yeah, I believe that the more we do the spiritual work, the more that we go into our shadow, the more that we begin to take, tear
thank you.
away all. That's awesome. Thank you. The more that we do the spiritual work for ourselves, the more that our abilities come forth, and the more that ability to be clairvoyant, to connect to our mediumship abilities is strengthened, because it's sort of like if you go to the gym every single day and you do your workout, you're gonna get stronger, you're gonna do better. But the people who show up like once or twice a week and do a different, they're not doing a program, an exercise program. It's sort of a self-defeating process. So I have told a lot of my students, especially when we start with meditation, I've told them that meditating for 5 minutes a day is better than sitting down for 2 hours once a week. It has to be a muscle that you flex regularly. You have to have a program, a path that you are working on in order to be able to get the greatest benefit from it. So it's like with any skill, if you're learning a new language, and that's, mediumship is kind of like learning a new language. You're learning how to connect in that way, and to not cock block yourself. I'm sorry. I know we're on TikTok and I'm supposed to not sound like a sailor, but I don't know how.
Don't be your own obstacle.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly right. Sorry.
Hello. It's to the point with like if you want to sit like all the like abilities, like regardless if you're all the clairs, all the clairs and everything, it's to the point where I do not identify with a specific clair. I just call myself a conduit, whereas like information just come through in any way, shape, or form, and I'm like, okay, it's coming through like clairaudience. If it comes through like high ringings and stuff like that, it's coming through. What is it saying? Or if I see something, what is it saying? Sometimes information will just blip right in. It's like, okay, where there's that. I would smell, taste, feel, whatever. However the information comes in, I'm open to it. And then it's on me to process it.
And that's where we have to get into the shadow work, and we have to like remove the obstacles that keep us from seeing clearly, because we don't want to have our own ego or our own biases be present when we are delivering information, because that can give people the wrong information. So everybody has their own symbols, their own all right, I have a perfect story about that. A woman that I know came to me. She had a dream, and she wanted to figure out how to interpret it. She dreamt that she was went to her workplace, which was a bit of a formal workplace, and she was wearing jeans and very casual clothes. And she came to me and told me that this was, this was what her dream was, and she didn't understand it. And I said, and she was like, oh, I looked online, and in this dream, apparently jeans means that you feel chill and good about a situation. I was like, bitch, I know you better than that. You hate denim, and you are very uncomfortable in anything other than a skirt. This for you, that's your symbolism, that's the space. So that that one size fits all situation, or my interpretation of what jeans would be, would not be relevant to her. So that's why we need to be clear that we can sense a broader, clearer picture, and our symbols and our information doesn't cloud the way that the information goes to the person that we are reading for. You just give the information without bias.
And to answer the question that was floating up, how can you tell if you're experiencing tinnitus or actual clairaudience? And my thing is that mundane solving...
Tinnitus?
Huh?
Tinnitus?
Tinnitus. No, tinnitus. Like ringing of the ear, the condition where the ear...
Right.
Yeah,
Tinnitus.
Tinnitus. Tinnitus.
I was just clarifying.
Oh, no, you're good. So always go for mundane solutions first, before looking at spiritual understanding. That's the way I do it. So if you're experiencing constant ringing, see a doctor first and foremost, and see if their solutions will help. Now, if they don't per se help, I mean, perhaps...
I would actually answer that slightly differently. If tinnitus is a thing that you regularly experience, that's probably what it is. If you never have tinnitus, it's not just going to randomly be that thing that occurs that one day for 30 minutes and then is gone the next 2 days. So typically that's not how it, that would probably be spirit speaking to you. And then, it would be a moment. Spirit is going to give you information. They're going to poke. Got some information for you. And time to journey, time to meditate.
And you're sitting there, and that poke just gets like,
So that would be like the invitation to tune in and get more information, and find out what is being spoken, what is being conveyed, why that was your attention was diverted, so that you could then connect.
I can see that. And just my personal thing is the whole, solve it mundanely first, and then try other options, because you never know.
I think we're saying the same thing. I'm just saying that, like, tinnitus isn't a thing that just happens for 30 minutes, like, outside of...
I see what you're saying now.
It's if you typically have tinnitus, one day showing up, and then that wouldn't be the thing.
Now I see what you're saying.
Yeah, if you've never I can't think of another example, but if there's something that if it's out of the blue, tune in and ask your guides. That's why the relationship with our guides is so very important, because they can reveal to us why we are experiencing that. You can actually ask them, hey, is this a legit situation that I need to tune into, or is this something that I need to see a doctor about?
Hello, mystical misfit. Welcome from the For You page. Definitely will start looking at my dreams differently. Sorry.
Oh, awesome. I love dream interpretation.
How do you tune in? Oh, that's a good one. Nope. Are you currently scheduling for readings? I am currently scheduling for readings, yes. My Instagram link is linked on my bio. Send me a message and I will get to you as soon as I can, and I will get y'all scheduled. Cool.
How to tune in.
There
was I want to take a moment because there was someone who asked what our favorite decks were, and
yes.
we were in the middle of another thing and we didn't get a chance to answer that. So I'd like for you to go first on that.
Okay. I have a favorite tarot and favorite oracle, but to me I treat them the same even though they're not the same. I actually enjoy the Hoodoo Tarot. Mm-hmm. And the reason why, in my experience with using the Hoodoo Tarot, especially going to like reading at festivals and alongside you and stuff like that, I'll have them lined up, like various decks lined up. The reason why I like the Hoodoo Tarot, because those who pick that deck are in for some deep medicine. It's upfront, it is harsh, it holds no punches, but at the same time it gives that gentle firmness where it's like, but it's okay. But we're telling you like it is. It's just the energy interpretation I get from that deck working with it. I love it. The artwork is lovely.
Awesome.
Especially the Two of Swords card is really creepy, but I like it.
So again, this is where our spaces are very different. He's very animistic about the way that he views his decks. They have a personality. They have a way that they speak to him. I believe that spirit just it uses the cards as a jumping off point. I don't even need the tarot card deck. I just use it so that my clients feel better sitting mm-hmm. and having something as a visual focal point. It's a jumping off point for spirit to have the conversation with me. And what I don't have a favorite deck. I have like 50 decks and they're all really pretty, and it's just whatever I'm feeling on that day. Sometimes I have darker decks and then I have lighter, more fuzzy decks, and depending on the energy of the person that's sitting down and what we're gonna I can tell what we're gonna be dealing with before we actually get into it. I will choose a deck that is going to help to convey that better. Mm-hmm. So because they have that visual focal point and it will help to speak to them. And sometimes decks want, a certain deck will have the symbols that are going to be most, speak most to that particular mm-hmm. person. So that's the one I'm going to grab. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a favorite.
That's how it is with the one oracle deck that I have called the Mystic Shaman Oracle deck and everything, where like the artwork on the deck is just phenomenal.
Miss Poppy Love, I'm so glad you're here. She says that she loves the deck you're talking about.
Oh, thank you.
She also has a fondness for it, which is awesome. She's an amazing woman on this.
I think I had people float.
You had another question?
I think so. Yours? I've been trying for months and I still can't get. My blocks are hard to get past. Wait,
trying to get past blocks. Do you mind if I
go for it. I have a lot of this.
So sometimes when we have those moments where we are used to really sitting down and being able to connect, and then all of a sudden we can't connect. Sometimes our and tune in to see if this resonates for you in your moment. There's real world stuff or there's shadow work that we are being called to look at, because we, as flesh beings, we are geared to avoid discomfort. We don't want to feel like crap. So we will avoid shadow work, or we will avoid having to do the things that are uncomfortable for us. So a lot of times spirit is going to keep like redirecting you. We're not looking at that right now, honey. We're looking at this. This is the direction we go. So if those blocks are present, sometimes the block is there because there's something that we're supposed to be focusing on that we are avoiding. And I see that happen quite a bit. And if you have a block, and again, you don't feel that you can, in an unbiased way, look at that, you can get a reading from somebody else to help you understand what it is that you are needing to look at or process in order to move forward and regain that connection. And I will say that we are not static creatures. We are very dynamic. So the way that you connected at one point may not be the same way that you need to connect again, or that's going to work for you the next time. And so you may have to take a different route to go there. So maybe shifting perspective or shifting the way that you look at the situation or try to interact might help you to connect again.
House of Ravenclaw, message me on Instagram. I will answer that question for you directly, because that whole explanation can take a long time.
Where are we on time? Anyway, I have not... Oh my gosh, we've been talking for a whole hour.
Oh, wow.
All right, so I'm not going to stop, but right away... Oh, you're low battery. So, I am Spider Goddess. This is Afro Spiritual.
By the way, I love your sleeves.
Oh, thank you. Dre Draco Tattoos, also on TikTok. So you can go follow him, DREDRACO Tattoos. Dre Draco Tattoos. You can go look at more of his work. But yeah, he has pretty much covered me. Yeah. So, y'all are wonderful. These questions are beautiful.
Thank
I
you
love
for
the
being
interaction.
here, yes.
This is a weekly thing that I do on Instagram and hopefully on TikTok when I have some followers.
Yes, the sooner on TikTok, the sooner you get Spider Goddess to 1,000, she could start going live, and you could ask her questions and do all this like more times than not. Not only that, we live like.
This is my best friend,
like
so
20 minutes apart and
guest.
Everything. So like
he's my first guest on this.
I know, I might be seeing us do lives more often together and everything.
I think we should.
Yeah, we should.
We've had a lot of fun. This has been really nice.
This has been fun, sure.
And we've had good tea.
Yes.
Cardamom.
Cardamom, yes.
Cardamom black tea. So, anyone who would love to talk about any aspect of divination, if you have an idea and you want to present
You're
it,
welcome.
if you want to be part of a future live, and like I said, it's on Instagram under Spider Goddess, send me a message. I would love to have a different focus and a different guest every week, because y'all are amazing, and everybody has wisdom, everybody has knowledge to share, and I want to learn from you, and I want to share ideas and have discourse. So thank you all for being here, and feel free to send other questions, and we can maybe check them out next week.